challenging time, and we have to be we're thankful that we're here, and remember those that aren't, and always keep their memory alive with us. So it is, and it is today it is very, very critical that we get important information out to everyone. And we want to thank the members today. Tonight is Faith with the Armenian American community, which the Armenian Americans have made tremendous contributions to making our nation a great nation, our state a great state, and our city what it is today. Where would America be without the contributions of Armenian Americans? Not as great as it is. And so I want to, and we're going to have a wonderful program here tonight. And I want to mention that I know the commissioner is on a very, very hectic and busy schedule, being moved around from Zoom to Zoom and so many other things. So in the event, she may have to jump off at some point. But I do want to introduce the Commissioner and Chief Administrative Law Judge. I do want to point out that when the week that Commissioner Kletter came to oath was the week that COVID-19 hit our city. Literally she came in, and we were there, and it was a critical moment in the history of our city. It's also it was vital that we needed the leadership, and we got the leadership from Commissioner Kletter. And we would have shut down like other versions of oath across the country. The version of oath in Chicago shut down entirely. In Baltimore, in Albuquerque, New Mexico, those are just some examples of oaths that have closed down. Now, if you're following what's happening with the state court system, they're opening up at some point. There's a tremendous backlog with cases in that court system. We don't have that here, thanks to the leadership and vision of Commissioner Kletter, who kept us open. And she's going to discuss how that was done and what she did to keep us open, so there is no backlog, no existing backlog, and that things are normally moving ahead as if we were in a regular period of time. So without further ado, I want to introduce, and I'm honored to introduce Commissioner and Chief Administrative Law Judge Joni Kletter. Commissioner.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We recognize, as John said, this has been a very difficult time for so many New Yorkers. And we really at Oath want to be proactive about getting out our information, being responsive to answering any questions you might have, letting you all know what we've been doing over the last year, what has changed, how we can be helpful to you as we move forward. As John mentioned, you know, our oath hearings division really never shut down during the pandemic. And as he mentioned, I arrived the same week in March as the city was shutting down because of COVID, March of 2020. And for those of you who don't know, our hearings division is responsible for adjudicating the summonses, the civil summonses that are issued by over 20 enforcement agencies. So that includes sanitation, consumer affairs, buildings, environmental protection, parks, etc., among many others. And we are an independent and impartial administrative tribunal. And in many ways, we are a check on the agencies. So if you are a respondent, you get a ticket and you come to Oath to challenge the summons. If the agency can't prove its case and can't prove that it properly served the summons, then it will be dismissed. The violation will be dismissed. And normally we process over 800,000 summonses a year. And of those, over 200,000 come to Oath for an in-person hearing. So that means someone challenges the summons that they received and they want to appear before one of our hearing officers. And when we shut down because of COVID, we immediately transitioned to online telephonic hearings in the hearings division. And I'm proud to say that since March of last year, we've done over 140,000 telephonic hearings on our summonses, civil summonses. And we really never shut down. We've given every respondent in New York City the opportunity to challenge their summons if they wanted to challenge it. And they've been able to do it in the convenience of their own home. So whereas before you would have to travel on the subway and come wait in one of our waiting rooms and spend half of your day challenging a summons, now all you have to do is reach out to us and we can schedule your telephonic hearing on a day that's convenient for you. And you can challenge your summons while you're at home in a convenient location and on a day that's convenient for you. So it's been incredibly successful. And because of that success, we're going to be continuing with telephonic hearings as the default option for the future. And if you have any questions about it, we're here to answer some of those questions that you might have, but we're really proud of how well that it's worked. And it's really a testament to the team at Oath for keeping us fully operational during this time. We also have a trials division. Our trials division includes 9 or 10 administrative law judges who oversee more complicated trials and cases that include city employee disciplinary cases, Department of Consumer Affairs, Fair Work Week and paid sick day violations, city contract cases, and loft board cases, among other types of cases. And they have also been fully operational during this time with WebEx and Zoom trials and conferences. And I think they've done close to 1,000 conferences since last year. So we've been very productive, and I'm very proud of that team. And if you do receive a summons or you're going before one of our divisions, we highly encourage you, if you do not have an attorney, to reach out to our help center. We have a very robust help center at Oath, which has about 25 employees, and their job is to assist respondents who might have questions about their hearing. And they're very knowledgeable and very experienced. I've listened in on some of these calls. They can tell you what arguments to make at a hearing, what documents to bring, how to file an appeal, how to file a motion to vacate if you didn't appear at your first hearing and didn't participate, but now want to participate. So we highly encourage you to reach out to our help center for assistance if you need it. Within our help center too, we launched a small business unit and a veteran support unit, so we can offer specialized help in those areas. And we can talk a little bit about that as well if you have questions. We've also sought to be more technologically innovative over the last year. So in addition to transitioning to remote hearings, we now offer a text messaging service so that you're not just relying on the US Postal Service in terms of receiving information from us. You can text us at, I don't have all the information, but we'll put it in the chat. And if you send us the summons number, we will automatically send you updates about your case, about when your hearing will be, and we can answer any other relevant questions that you might have, how to make a payment, etc. And then finally, I want to talk a little bit about MEND and our Center for Creative Conflict Resolution. When I came to Oath last year, one of my goals was to expand our Center for Creative Conflict Resolution, which had traditionally been offering wonderful mediation services and conflict coaching, but really only for city employees. And my goal was to expand the work that they did to do more public facing work and to really assist communities that might need it. And COVID, for better or worse, gave us this opportunity to assist small businesses that are struggling and receiving complaints from neighbors or other small businesses around quality of life disputes such as garbage, noise, as well as landlord-tenant disputes. And we will offer free voluntary mediation to the small business. And the hope is that it will avoid having an enforcement agent get called, cutting down on the number of summonses that are issued, and making life easier for the small businesses that are trying to run in our city during this difficult time. There's been a couple articles. There was an article in the Daily News that I wrote that just came out. The mayor did a press conference with me a few months ago, which went really well. And we're all very excited about MEND, and we encourage you to spread the news about MEND. We're actively seeking mediations where appropriate. So if you know a business that could use MEND, please reach out to us. And that's my spiel. I'll turn it back over to John.
Thank you, Commissioner. I did want to mention one of the things that Commissioner Kletter does. Every year, she and her husband travel to Belarus, and where they build a memorial, Holocaust memorial, every year. So I just wanted to point out that the Commissioner is very involved in a lot of things outside of both causes to make our world a better place for all of us. So I just want to. It's not just exclusive to Oath what she does. So, and then she's got an ejection button to hit that makes me fly off the Zoom. So
no, and I forgot to mention that we have a number of Armenians who work at Oath, which we're very proud of. So yes. I'm sure Susan will add that when she's.
Yes. Thank you, Commissioner. And I want to introduce a special guest here tonight, someone who is a pillar in the Armenian American community. Souren Israelyan. I had asked for a bio, and it was when I asked for the bio, it's like 100 pages. So I almost fell off the chair because it's really 100 pages of achievements that he's had. And I want to point out, because I know people in the Armenian American community know who Souren is and know of his accomplishments, but I want to just make a few points about it here, so our people at Oath know just a little bit of what he's done. He's one of the top trial attorneys in the country. Some of the highest jury verdicts, top jury verdicts in the nation, were cases that he tried. Co-chair of the New York State Bar Association, the Committee on Civil Practice, Law and Rules, and where he's really had an impact on the changes of the CPLR to improve on the CPLR over the years. He's a board member on the Board of Governors of the American Bar Association. And I think I would guess to say that the most important, significant thing that he would be most proud of is that he urged, and the President Biden listened, he urged that America acknowledge the Armenian genocide. And I think that is something that is not to be underscored, the achievement there, because President Biden listened to Souren. So I want to, without further ado, introduce, I'm honored to ask Souren Israelyan to say a few words. Souren?
Thank you, John. Thank you, Commissioner, for a great presentation, and your staff, Rachel and Susan. They're amazing people and doing amazing work. I'm not going to speak a lot because I just want to tell you why this program, from our standpoint, we deem it very important. We deem it very important because we rarely hear about Oath. However, Oath administers tremendous, vast amount of administration of justice in this city is taken under the auspices of Oath. The things that affects the people's lives, whether there's tickets from NYPD, New York City Fire Department, Department of Health, Department of Buildings, and there's a long list of agencies. And the people feel on their skin. They get these tickets. It'll be their first experience with how the justice is going to be administered. And it is, and it's important, and it's close to their heart, and it's close to the Armenian Americans here in the city of New York. And we are very, very happy with the way it's been administered over the years, and especially during the COVID time. I cannot tell you, they probably, John and Susan and Rachel already heard that how impressed I am that you do not have a backlog. It's just immensely impressive, and these are not empty compliments. These are I'm swimming, living in the auspices of Office of Court Administration in the court system, and I know the backlog there. And that you do not have a backlog, it's a great achievement, and you and all the staff that made it happen should take credit. Important it is that we wanted to do this program. I want to thank John for following up and being persistent with me, because it's important that the stakeholders such as Armenian American community is advised of what OAF does at these challenging times and how it administers justice. So we're very thankful on that John followed up and made sure that this program is being held and that we can distribute resources that you shared here today with us, with our community members. And it's not only us, there's a number of important people here that have strong networks that can reach out to hundreds and thousands of members of the Armenian American community in New York City. Lastly, I just want to say that this is our first meeting together, but I would like to forge lasting and meaningful relationship that will last for many years to come in this and other venues. And I welcome all of you and the members that are here today, and I would like to, and let's continue the program. Back to you, John.
Thank you, Souren. Thank you so much. Which now I want to introduce someone who I was a friend and a dear colleague and a teacher, an attorney's attorney, and she's no stranger to the Armenian American community because she is one of their own, an Armenian and proud Armenian American who when you have a conversation with her about Armenia, she can give you a whole history about her and the pride that she has, rightfully so, of the Armenian traditions and so forth. In fact, she loaned me a cookbook, an Armenian cookbook. So, because I'm a foodie and Armenian, in fact, I'm curious about Armenian foods, and I got a taste of that. And she is really an accomplished attorney. And I haven't mentioned her name yet. I'm using a lot of pronouns now. But I'm getting to her name now, and she she came over from the Department of Consumer Affairs, and her expertise in consumer law, consumer protection law, is unrivaled. She has taught. When she came to Oath, she really brought this knowledge, this experience. So she was a judge there at Oath. I'm sorry, at formerly the Department of Consumer Affairs, which is now the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection. She was a judge there for many years. And she adjudicated a large number of trials, came over to Oath, became deputy commissioner for appeals, and she's going to share some of her knowledge with us this evening. But again, she's a model for us, and she's accomplished, and she was one of the first women to rise up in the legal profession, and other women, and we're very proud of her and looking up to her. And I'm going to mention her name. It's Susan Kassapian, for those of you who don't know. And Kassapian, again, I don't want to talk too much, but I speak from the heart. So I want to introduce Susan, who is now going to discuss share some of her knowledge today about what she does and how it can be helpful for all of us here today. Susan?
Thank you so much, John. And to everyone, Bari Galus Sirali Hayir Irava Banir. I hope I said that right. And just by way of introduction, Commissioner, all of the Armenian Americans in this country are children of genocide victims. And my own family story, very briefly, is my two grandmothers and my father, who was a child, 2 years old. They're the only ones that survived, their entire family. And my maternal grandmother survived a death march and was thrown into a well and waited until it was dark and screamed for help. And someone actually pulled her out and saved her life. And then she came to this country. And so we know what it means to be resilient, to never give up, to strive and to succeed. And I think you've done that, Commissioner, at Oath. I don't know what I would have done if I had been assigned commissioner and then the agency shuts down that week and we're in a plague. But Oath has really done a good job. So just to explain, essentially a summons is issued to a business or a homeowner with a return date to come to oath. And during COVID, we rescheduled cases for months because we understood that people couldn't come and we were going to have to set up something which Rachel helped set up with the court call system. But basically, after a case is heard, a decision is written very quickly, generally speaking, same day, but otherwise within a week. We're quick. And then if either side wants to take an appeal, it comes to my unit. And what we have to decide is, was that hearing officer's decision rooted in the facts and the law? Generally, we will defer on a credibility finding to the hearing officer because they were there and heard all the evidence and in a live hearing saw the demeanor of the litigants. But sometimes if it's clearly the decision against the weight of the evidence, we will reverse. So we can affirm a decision, we can reverse a decision, or we can remand it if there's just not enough in the record for us to make a decision. And I'm not going to talk too much more. I did want to show you something, but my most important bits of advice for anyone who is ever the recipient of a summons that's returnable to oath, or an attorney for someone that gets a summons, first of all, you should not be afraid. If you've never litigated before us, it's easy because we make it easy. Whoops, I just lost the screen for a minute. Anyway, the two main bits of advice I have are, actually it's three. Present all the possible evidence you have to corroborate what it is that you or your client is trying to present as a defense. Because if you've not presented it at the hearing, on appeal, we cannot consider it. So for example, if you think you have a great defense on the merits, but you don't raise service as an issue, and service was not properly made, and then later on you realize that, and on appeal you want to raise service, we cannot consider it. We can only consider what was presented at the hearing. There are a few exceptions, but I won't get into them. The other thing is to do the research before you get here. And most people that have never come to oath wouldn't know where to start. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. Rachel, I hope I haven't been frozen all this time. Rachel, can you put up, yes, okay. So there is a website at New York Law. And if you go to their website, they have a library of all the city decisions you ever need to know. So Rachel is now clicking on the website. And if you look halfway down, and I don't know if you can point with a cursor, Rachel, but there's a whole section on oath. There's the trials division, there's the hearings division, and then there's the old ECB decisions. But let's say you can click both if you want to get new and old decisions, because ECB is now a part of oath. And then you would go down to the keywords, and let's say it was a sanitation ticket. And so you want to put in, what is the section we were doing before, Rachel? 18, give me 1 second.
Susan, I put it in. Sorry, I was on mute.
Okay, so show me the screen that has the section of law on dirty sidewalk.
Okay.
Okay, so you put this section of law, and then you press the search button. And all these cases are going to come, and you don't even usually have to go past the first one because we always repeat the precedent cases. So click on that case. So this is not the case. Is this the case we looked at earlier, Rachel?
No, but I can bring that case up.
Okay, because I like that case because
the one.
Right. So
Yep. It's on the screen now.
Right. Okay. So just go down the page. This is a very short one-page appeal. Many of our appeals are just one page. And what it tells you is what you needed to do to have had the case dismissed. It tells you that the defense is something called a reasonable efforts defense. And it explains that in order to establish that defense, you have to show sufficient efforts were made on a daily basis, including the date of the violation, to keep, your sidewalk clean. And the case that's cited, that Anna Marie Farce case, is the precedent case. Okay, now if you go down a little bit, it deals with the COVID defense, because there is a COVID defense for a dirty sidewalk case. And it even tells you here that on June 23rd, they announced that there was going to be a defense that you could raise if you were either in isolation or in quarantine, at the time that the summons was served. But it also tells you that to sustain the defense, that you have to provide evidence that a member of the household tested positive for COVID-19 or that a healthcare professional instructed members of the household to isolate or quarantine. So in literally 1 second or 2 seconds, even if you never did a case and you don't know what the defenses are, you're going to be able to look at this New York law website, put in the keywords or just put in the section of law, and you will know everything you need to do to defend yourself or to defend a respondent. You will not be forgetting to say things that you didn't realize are the important things to say. The other thing, Rachel, I wanted to show them is how to find the statutes themselves, which is found at the American the American Legal Publishing. And I'm going to send everyone, or Rachel will send everyone, the full PowerPoint. But we're going to click on American Legal Publishing just so I can show you what it looks like. If you can open it.
Okay, it's opening.
Okay. Okay, so if you look at the left-hand part of the screen, it has the main buckets. It has the New York City Charter, which is really the enabling statute, the administrative code, which is the main statute for every agency, and the rules, because every code section has a rule. So if you open up, for example, the rules, the very first thing is the Department of Buildings. And if you open that up, you will find all of the sections and you can read. And most sections of the administrative code and the rules, they're not very long. So when you get the summons, you're not going to know what you've been charged with exactly. They use a few words to describe, the alleged offense. But as a lawyer, you will be able to go right to the source material, understand it, and if you don't understand it, or if you don't understand procedurally what you should do, then you can go to the help center. You can't go to me because your case might ultimately have to be decided on appeal by me. So that's my presentation. Oh, I should say, in terms of lawyers, we during COVID, we were supposed to hire new lawyers, but we took down the posting. We do post on our website when there are openings for per-session hearing officers, which is what Ruben applied to. When we I don't remember, was it 4 years ago now, Ruben? It's something like that. And we do have other Armenian hearing officers and actually one full-time staff attorney. So we look forward to other applicants from the Armenian Bar Association. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Thanks. And this is the time where we open up to everyone for if they have any questions, any comments, anything they'd like to share. So there's no such thing as a bad question. There's no such thing as a crazy comment or anything like that. So Anyway, if this is the time, anything anyone wants to ask, please feel free. And I know there are some people I can't see, but I see names. So those people where I see your names, if you would like to ask a question, now's the time.
If I may start asking a couple of questions and then pick it up. Can you just talk about the defaults? I assume that there's some defaults that took place during the COVID just because people were not able to either answer in time or they receive a ticket for sidewalk violation that they were not even in the house. They were in their out of city residence. And I know a number of people like that. What happened? How easy it is to open a defaults? What efforts have there been made in that context to make sure that it's fair to the people who have defaulted on their hearing dates?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first of all, in March of last year, when the pandemic hit, we stopped issuing defaults. So we just automatically rescheduled every hearing for a later date. And that was from March until I want to say July or August. I think it was August. So there were no defaults. We just automatically rescheduled every case unless someone did contact us and we did a telephonic hearing. And then since August, when we've started the defaults again, we've extended the amount of time for vacating the default. So it used to be 60 days you had to vacate the default to appear. It's now 75 days. So we've made it a little bit easier. There's also discussion of a potential amnesty coming up. I don't know if it will happen, but there's always that chance. And when that amnesty happens, anyone who did default and has a judgment can pay it without any penalty.
I did want to mention that oath does not decide on the penalty amounts. That is something that's decided. It's actually, it's in the laws for the various agencies. So, what our hearing officers are deciding is whether or not the petitioning agency proved their case, and whether or not the respondent has a meritorious defense. But we don't get to decide what the fine amount is. That is decided by the prosecuting agencies. Now, in order to take an appeal, generally you needed to have paid the fine first, but you can make a hardship application if your business has been out of business because of COVID or whatever, and we liberally grant hardship applications so that we will then decide the appeal even though the fine was not paid.
One question I received from a person who's not here and is a contractor. In terms of the time limits from that if appeal is taken, how long does it take for an appeal? Actually, let's start it from there. How long does it take from a summons to the calendaring of a hearing, and how long does it take from a hearing to a decision? And if a decision is appealed, how long does it take for an appellate decision?
Joni, do you want to do it or should I? Well, during COVID, of course, as Joni explained, we rescheduled the first assigned hearing date. But if in a normal time, an agency would usually choose like a month out for a return date. Either side can ask for a reschedule without any question, without any excuse. They can just do that electronically and or call us, and they can get, it's set to a new date. When the hearing is then conducted, as I said earlier, right now they're doing it, generally speaking, the same day and or by the end of that same week. And then they have we had extended the normal time to appeal. Joni, I think we did that until January or February. But the normal time to appeal would be 30 days from a decision, or 35 if you received it by mail. In the old days, when people came for the live hearings, they would sometimes just wait in the hearing room, and the hearing officer would write out that decision within an hour. So, you know, they got their decision immediately. But if they got it by mail, then they had 35 days. But then they could ask us for an extension of time to take the appeal, or if they wanted to request the audio recording. So, you know, we're very, you know, liberal, and we want there to be as much due process. We're not, you know, we give people a chance to, you know, take their time to write an appeal, and there's a form. It's all, if you have a computer, it's really easy because it's all done on the form, and then we actually send it to the prosecuting agency, because your appeal has to be sent to the prosecuting agency, but we'll do it for you if you do it on the online form.
We should add too, because you mentioned the mailing a decision, that we're trying to transition to emailing where applicable. And so you can opt in to receiving your decision via email now, which is what most people are doing.
Right, and we've already done that with appeals. On the appeal form, we ask you, will you accept the appeal decision by email? And invariably they say yes.
I see a question from Hasmi Kovanisyan, who's on call with us. I think that she probably intended to send to all of them, but probably just came to me. The question is, what is being done for litigants who don't speak English well? Is there an interpreter office where someone can request an interpreter?
Yeah, we can interpret. We have translation services in any language. And that's both for the hearing itself, as well as the help center session that's needed before the hearing. And we can also interpret any documents that need to be interpreted. So you just have to reach out to us. It's also on our website, and we can provide you with those services.
When I used to hear cases, Souren, instead of the appeals are, of course, all done on paper. I think I must have used 20 different languages. I never used Armenian, and it was amazing. The company is called Language Line, and they have interpreters that can do everything.
Thank you.
Has Oath considered, by the way, I'm a hearing officer from the Long Island City group, and I do TLC exclusively. And, you know, and I always thought it was because of my unit that things were, you know, operating so smoothly. You know, my managers are incredible people, and they do great work. Now, and of course, I've been doing the court call hearings for nearly 10 months now, or more maybe. And has Oath considered going to video by chance?
So just so you know, our trials division is only by video.
Oh.
The hearings division is telephonic, and it's something we're thinking about, but honestly, personally, I haven't heard any complaints. I would love to talk to you more, Ruben, about it, because I'd be interested to know what percentage of people have requested it or wanted it, but I really haven't heard any complaints from the agencies. And I know all the commissioners, like if they had an issue, they would call me and say, hey, you really need to have a video option. And they haven't said it, which is somewhat surprising, but it's been working really well. But that's not to say it's not something we shouldn't consider for the future. So
yeah, no, I have zero complaints concerning the court call. However, I think it may be better for some of the respondents who, you know, can't speak English for them to visually see. And that was my only thing.
Video ends up causing a lot of problems in itself, because if you have people who don't have computers, don't have Zoom, have trouble unmuting and muting themselves, I mean, it's actually, I think telephone is much easier for people who are not as sophisticated, and it also allows you to be anywhere. You know, there's a lot of times the inspectors are out in the field for the agencies and they can participate on a hearing because it's a phone call. So there's a lot of reasons why phones make sense for most cases. I could see potentially a small number of cases where video might make more sense. If it's a complicated Department of Buildings case, for example, a video might make more sense. But I think for most cases, when you're talking about a 20 to 40 minute hearing, a telephone works well.
And I'd also like to say that I've never seen an appeal say, I didn't get a fair hearing because the hearing officer couldn't see me, you know, like, and they say everything on appeal. They complain about
Sorry. No, go ahead.
I just wanted to just add one more point for everyone that does not work at oath. All of the hearing officers are instructed in the beginning of the hearing to let the respondents, who most of whom are pro se, we are instructed to tell them about some of their rights, like, rights to hire an authorized representative, the right to speak with the help center, and the right to present evidence and witnesses at the time of trial. And I think that just that little thing brings in a whole fairness of the hearing, and I think conveys that fairness, that the respondent is going to get a fair shake. And I think oath does a wonderful job overall.
Thank you. And I do want to add that one of the things that we're very proud of is the fact that sometimes you'll hear about administrative agencies, you'll hear about actions that'll take place in Supreme Court, or where they'll be based on an Article 78 proceeding where the administrative agency acted arbitrarily and capriciously. And in the case of oath, that's something that is very, 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 very scarce. And that means that, and even though and where there are the very, very rare Article 78 actions, the Supreme Court has upheld the decisions of the oath administrative law judges, and also
the appeals unit, you mean?
Well, I'm getting to I wanted to end the appeals unit of the hearings division. So I wanted to make sure that gives you an idea that we have the kind of like it's the seal of approval from the higher courts that we're doing our job correctly, and we're acting. And again, we started this with the fairness in trials and hearings, which is synonymous with due process. So if you're an attorney, you know what due process is. Due process is really the core of how we live as attorneys, as advocates, and fairness in trials and hearings is what we advocate. That's what we live for at oath. We focus on ensuring due process for everyone that appears at oath, and the higher courts have really given us a seal of approval on that. So, and if there are any other questions or comments before we wrap up. Yes, Souren.
One more question. Does oath maintain a list of authorized representatives or the lawyers or attorneys who are regularly practiced before oath? Because as we all know, everything is specialized this day and age. And if the people would like to hire somebody rather than hire somebody from out of, go on a Google search, do you maintain such a list that's publicly available?
We don't make the list of registered reps public, though I guess it could be requested through a FOIL request. We certainly don't maintain a list of the lawyers, and there are lawyers that are sort of frequent flyers with us. But
You can probably Google it and get an answer pretty quickly if you Google, like, you know, oath attorney.
right, we wouldn't want to be recommending anyone, Sudan. And let me tell you, some of the registered reps don't do as good a job as other people, you know, like I guess that's true of lawyers too. Many of our respondents are pro se, but on the big, when there's fines that are like $10,000 and up, people do bring a lawyer usually. But we don't publish it. We don't, and we wouldn't, and there's a good, bad, and ugly on the list. So just because they appear before us doesn't mean they're good.
Thank you, Sudan.
Thank you.
Question. That's a very good question. There is in the chat. I just want to point out that Lucy Varpetian raised an interest for externship opportunities for law students. We do have an internship program, and if there are law students, I know the commissioner is very big on education and internships, and so I don't know, Commissioner, if you want to speak to that.
Well, every summer we have 3 or 4 summer law clerks, and there's also the City Hall is really pushing summer youth employment program for this summer, which is for anyone from the ages of 16 to 24. And then we also have a law fellow program, which is much more competitive for a 1-year fellowship.
Thank you, Commissioner. I know that
Thank
Rachel.
you, student members.
I'm sorry.
It's very.
I'm sorry, Lucy. You want to try that again?
Can't really hear you, but if you want to put your question in the chat, we can try and answer it.
And while she's doing, John,
we do have a question from Hazmik Hovhannisyan, forgive me. Is there a contact for translation or interpretation that they can get? So.
No, when the hearing officer gets the interpreter on the line, as Ruben probably has done a million times.
But our help center does too, Susan.
Yes.
So we
And
can,
our,
you
we,
put the information, someone, if you haven't yet, please put the information about the help center into the chat.
Okay.
I did enter the information, and we're also going to send them a takeaway with that information.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you. Rachel, I know you wanted to mention something about COVID, the latest on the COVID. Rachel's our COVID czar.
Sure, thanks. Sorry, I lost you guys. Okay, but just want to, for those of you who don't know, the city's doing really great at fighting back on COVID. So there's been a lot of updates on both vaccine and even mask wearing from the CDC. But obviously there are still people who haven't been vaccinated. So I'm just gonna share with everyone the link for vaccination in the chat. And if anyone has any questions or concerns about maybe the area that you guys are in and getting access to vaccines or vaccine hesitancy, you can definitely follow up with me. I'll leave my contact information, but we're doing really well. A year ago today, as our commissioner reminds us, we weren't in such a great place, and we have to look at how far we've come, and that's because we've, for the most part, the city has done really good at following all the guidelines. So we should give ourselves a pat on the back and just, you know, continue to be mindful of all of those protocols until people are fully vaccinated. But there's some good news for people who are fully vaccinated. The CDC is saying that they no longer need to wear masks outside, and they're going to review, the city's reviewing what will happen inside. So thank you, John.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much. Also, want to thank everyone here this evening. Keep in mind that this is, we are a phone call away. We are an email away. This is Susan's with us, and we have Ruben. We have a lot of people, a lot of connections to the Armenian American community. We want to make sure we keep that and enhance it, and provide the services that we have. So we look forward to that. We've done it in the past. We look forward to going and moving in the future on that. And I do want to say for everyone, Commissioner, I don't know if you have anything you want to add before we jump off.
No, I thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm hopeful that we'll have a great summer as everyone's getting vaccinated and our positivity rates are going down. So it's all very encouraging news.
Thank you, Commissioner. Souren, did you want to, is there anything you wanted to add before we jump off?
I think he's frozen.
No, he's not. Is
He's
he?
not? I think he
No, he's
is.
on mute. He's on mute. No,
There.
he just sits still.
Is that me? I'm sorry.
Yes, is
I was
there
reading. I was just find out the chat box. That's all right. I want to thank all of you. I want to thank the commissioner for her time and leadership at this very unique time in the history of our city and of our nation, of the world, actually. And I wanna thank John Castelli, the Deputy Commissioner of Legislative Affairs, for his leadership and making sure his outreach to the Armenian American community. And to Susan, we all know Susan, and we always love Susan's good spirit anytime with us. So we miss very much in-person communications, and hopefully soon with the vaccinations we'll be able all getting together so we can hug and kiss and break bread. And it was very pleasant to meet Rachel today, the deputy, the special assistant to the commissioner, and thank you very much for her good spirits and a great work that she did today. And thank you for the friends that joined us today and for this important program. We look forward to working with OFF and the leadership of the OFF for this coming year and for many, many years to come.
Thank you so much. Bari Gisha, everyone. Bari Gisha, I hope I said it right. Bari Gisha, everyone, and stay safe.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.